Oh hey, I'm the film curator. Today we'll be taking a look at the new movie by 20th Century Fox, The Book Thief. The movie is based off a 2006 book by the same name. However, once again we won't be taking a look at how the movie compares to the book or how the book compares to the movie, simply the movie as a standalone form of medium itself. With that being said, let's go ahead and look at some of the more technical aspects of it. To start off with one of the more minor flaws of the movie, inside the technical department, the transitions that they used were sometimes exceedingly harsh and didn't really fit with what they were trying to do. Several times the scene just kind of ended and another scene started, and the transition they used to get there really kind of took you out of the movie and reminded you that it was a movie and not what you were experiencing at that point. But that being said, it only happened once or twice in the film, but when it did happen, you definitely noticed. As well as one of the framing devices, their use of time captions near the bottoms, or haphazard at best. They did it a lot in the beginning of the movie and a lot in the end of the movie, but a lot of the times the time that they dated didn't actually fit in with what was actually happening during the war at that point. And at one point, near the end of the movie, they said 2 years later, and then one of the characters gave a date, and it didn't actually match up with what we had previously seen. Math errors like that are kind of hard to forgive. But that being said, editors do have a big job to do, but such basic math problems should have been caught before the film went out. However, the biggest problem that they had with transitions and technical devices was the narration that was provided throughout the movie by Death. One, it wasn't really throughout the movie. It was at the beginning, and then you had three clumped around the ending. And this made the movie lopsided because for the most of the movie, you kind of forgot that it was being narrated to you. And this hurt a little bit too because they weren't really sure what to do with the narration. The narration was provided by Death. He tells you that in the very beginning of the movie. However, Death doesn't really add anything to the movie here. He talks as if he's your constant companion, which, while being a nice reference, doesn't really add anything to the film because he's not there enough. He just walks on the stage and doesn't even really walk. Typically, we're just filled with pictures of clouds, which once again doesn't really do much. If we saw someone kind of walking through the scene ignored, not necessarily going all out Seventh Seal kind of grim dark figure, maybe more of a contemporary figure, who just walks through the stage talking, it would have worked a lot better because he would have seemed invested in the action. Here, while being a very powerful framing device, ultimately it's underutilized because they just didn't know what to do with it. And that's one of the troubles drawing from a book is sometimes you'll have stuff that you'll really want to use because it was great in the book but doesn't work in the film medium. And that's one of the biggest things that I think this movie had problems with, is it wasn't accepting that it was a movie and not a book. And that might sound weird, but if you're making a movie, you do have to make a movie. And sometimes, unfortunately, that does mean dropping or altering or just going all out on something. And they weren't willing to do any of these options with the narration, so it just seems kind of out there. And I think that's one of the worst things that you can do, is just have something just hanging in the movie with no real purpose. And that was unfortunate because, to be completely honest with you, I'm kind of a sucker for a good narration. I know that sounds weird, but narrations at the beginning and end of movies I really like. But oh well. However, let's talk about something that I think the movie does very well, and that's its sets and props. Both of these looked excellent. Everything looked like you kind of thought it would, as well as it manages not to look like an action movie set, which for a movie set during World War II in Nazi Germany is actually pretty impressive, because a lot of the movies about World War II in Germany are action movies. Not that there's anything wrong with that, but a lot of times things look like set pieces as opposed to a place where people live. And the movie really manages to capture that, yes, this is Nazi Germany, and yes, there were normal people who lived here. And I thought that was really impressive. And it actually captured a lot of the kind of low-scale drama that occurred with people living in Nazi Germany with different beliefs levels in the Nazi Germany party's movement. And that was actually fairly impressive. Note that there's also the big kind of drama that happens with Nazi Germany, hiding a Jew in a basement, stuff like that, but it also kind of caught on with the more subtle moments, and I felt that was really impressive, and I think the movie should be applauded for trying to capture low-scale drama with children and stuff, rather than just the high drama of World War II, because we've seen a lot of that. Once again, not that there's anything wrong with the high drama, and the movie does do that very well too. It's just that adding in the lower drama gives the movie more life. It makes it feel more like a complete story, and I felt that was a very good thing. On that note, most of the actors did a very good job. They actually got decent children actors to do it. Actually, they got decent actors to do it, and they just happened to be children in this case. They were actually pretty far ahead most children actors I've seen. The only problem with these child actors is the movie takes place over all of World War II, and it actually begins before World War II, but they had the same actors throughout it, going from 11 to 16 and beyond. Looked harsh on the same character, because there were several scenes where they were talking and you're like, the person really should be older than this, and then you stop and think about the time frame and you're going, oh, they are actually 16 at this point. They just look 12. They just look 10. And because of the great job that the actors did, you can kind of forgive them for that, meaning that you can kind of forgive them for not recasting the actors every couple of scenes as the story progressed, because that probably would have been distracting as well. And while I think it might have been less distracting, I can respect that they felt the opposite way here. But overall, the actors did a good job. Now that we're done discussing the individual elements of the movie, what did I think of it all together? I thought it was a good movie. It really kind of suffered. I'm going to give it a 6 1/4. It really struggled at parts, but I do think it barely made it into good moviehood, if that makes any sense. So it was better than your average movie by a significant margin, but it really wasn't a very good movie. It was good, but now I'm just rambling. So to sum it up, it did have a lot of technical problems. It did have a lot of problems with people weren't really sure what to do with elements of the book, and that really hurts it as a movie, because as a movie, it needs to stand alone. I like reading books, don't get me wrong. I have probably too many of them, to be honest. But I want a movie to be a movie, and I want a book to be a book. And sometimes when you try to do interesting things with adaptations, the end product suffers. And I think that's what we're looking at here, is it was a movie that kind of wanted to be a book. And while that's unfortunate, it was still a good movie, and it's a movie that they can be proud of making. But it's not going to be the best movie of all time anytime soon. So, that being said, I'm going to get back to painting, and hope you enjoy yourselves.